Murray Langston, the unknown comic, wore a bag on his head because he didn't want other comics to know that he was doing the Gong Show, and he was extremely funny as the unknown comic, and he did an act later in Vegas, and he did the first half of the act with a bag on his head, and he would take the bag off and perform the other way, and he was much funnier with the bag on his head. Well, yes, my mother was on the show. I introduced her as my mother, and she came out and sang "Ain't She Sweet" or something like that, and then I had a policeman come in, and first of all I said, "You're not allowed to be on the show. You're my mother." And I had a policeman came in and came in and dragged her off, and she kept singing all the time that she went off. She must have been a ham, you know. My daughter was a ham. We were all hams. Oh, he was great. You know, Gene was a stagehand. It is Gene Raymond, I think, or something like that. And he swept up the stage, and while he swept, he was doing this great little dance. So I said, Gene, come out and do the dance, and he did, and it was a huge success. I mean, when we would go out to the ball games together at watch the Dodgers, Gene would get a bigger hand than I got, you know, when they saw him, and they just loved him. They weren't allowed to repeat themselves, except Pee Wee Herman, who always came on the show as a different act. I mean, in disguise. Like he was an Indian, he was a preacher, and on and on. But it was Paul Rubens doing something else, and doing another act, and I kept saying, "Paul, is that you?" And he was, yeah, and I would ignore it, and you know, he would go on, and he was wonderful. Father Ed was a stagehand too. We would dress him up and bring him out, and he would start talking about the wisdom of the Bible, which we would have on cue cards, and then during his talk, we would turn the cue cards upside down, and he would be totally lost, and it was just weird. I decided to do, and it got him all messed up. I think his name was Ed somebody or something.